Hello everybody! I'm chatting to you today from a bit of a change of scenery from what I like to call my cosy corner. Apologies for my very fresh face, but this is what happens when you haven't left the house for about, I think I'm on day 9, day 8? I don't know anymore. But all I do know is that having a little read of this book and knowing that you guys are really enjoying it is getting me through. So, we have read chapter 1. Yesterday we had chapter 2 and 3. Now today I'm going to read chapter 4 and then I'm also going to read chapter 5 because chapter 5 is literally a page and a bit. So hopefully yesterday you had a chance to jot down the things I was asking you to look out for. And your job for today is going to be to summarise what has happened in the book so far when we finished chapter 5. So to summarise from the beginning up to chapter 5, but in no more than 50 words. So 50 words will probably only be kind of a short paragraph of writing, but just so we're making sure we're keeping track and we're not forgetting things that have happened in the chapters before. Obviously, this is all on the YouTube channel now, so if you do want to look back at any of the other videos to remind you, go ahead, be my guest. Be my guest. Okay, so chapter 4. They don't have names, these chapters, by the way, so it is just chapter 4. Page 18 we're on at the moment. So, Bradley stood at the front door and hollered, "Mrs. Ebble is a liar! Don't believe anything she tells you." Bradley's mother got into the car, gritted her teeth, and drove to school. She was just as afraid as Bradley, if not more so, of what Mrs. Ebble would tell her. She wanted to believe Bradley when he told her he was getting all A's or was elected class president. She tried to fool herself that it could be true, even though she knew it couldn't. She knew her son, and she knew Mrs. Ebble wouldn't take the trouble to call her on the phone if everything were really as wonderful as Bradley said it was. Still, she hoped. She opened the door to Bradley's classroom. No one was there. "Hello," she called out timidly. She looked around. There was a bulletin board covered with A papers. She looked from one paper to another and hoped with all her heart that she'd see one with Bradley's name on it, but she didn't. At the back corner of the room, she saw a chart that listed the name of every student in the class. Next to each name was a row of gold stars. Next to Bradley Chalkers, what do we think? There were no stars. Mrs. Chalkers, startled, she turned around to see Mrs. Ebble. "Oh, you scared me then," she said, and then she smiled. Mrs. Ebble didn't smile. Mrs. Chalkers sat at a chair next to the teacher's desk and bravely listened to Mrs. Ebble as Mrs. Ebble told her about Bradley. There was nothing Mrs. Ebble said that she didn't already know. Still, it hurt to hear it. Deep down, he really is a good boy, she tried to tell Bradley's teacher. "I'm sure he has a lot of good qualities," said Mrs. Ebble. "However, I have 28 other children in my class, and I can't spend all my time trying to help Bradley. He has to decide whether he wants to be part of the class or not, and if he doesn't want to be part of the class, then he shouldn't be here. He just makes it that much harder for everyone else." "What can I do?" asked Bradley's mother. "The school has just hired a counsellor," said Mrs. Ebble. "I'd like your permission for Bradley to begin seeing her once a week." "Anything that will help my son," said Mrs. Chalkers. "I don't know if she can help him or not," said Mrs. Ebble. "Bradley has a very serious behaviour problem. If he doesn't show improvement soon, more drastic measures will have to be taken." "Deep down, he really is a good boy," said Bradley's mother. "Well, let's go and meet the counsellor," said Mrs. Ebble. She led Bradley's mother down the halls to the counsellor's office. The door was open, but no one was there. Bradley's mother stepped into the room. Boxes were everywhere. Some were turned over, with their contents half spilt onto the floor. A yellow ladder lay on its side. In the centre of the room was a round table surrounded by chairs, but the table and chairs were covered with papers and boxes and games and books. There was hardly any room for Bradley's mother or teacher to stand. "She is just moving in," Mrs. Ebble explained. "I'm sure she'll have it cleaned up by tomorrow." Mrs. Chalkers shrugged. She picked up a dolphin puppet from an open box on the table and put her hand inside it. Suddenly there was a loud grunt and a young woman entered the room. She dropped the box she was carrying and more than 100 crayons spilled out across the floor. "Oh, hello," she said. She was a lot younger than either Mrs. Ebble or Mrs. Chalkers. She wore blue jeans and a red t-shirt with rock and roll written across it in light blue letters. She had light brown hair, almost blonde, and clear blue eyes. "I'm Carla Davis," she said, and held out her hand. Bradley's mother stared at her a moment, then reached out to shake her hand, but suddenly realised she was still wearing the dolphin puppet. She quickly removed it and put it back in the box on the table. The counsellor smiled. "She needs to sign the form so that you can start seeing her son," said Mrs. Ebble. Miss Davids looked hopelessly around her office. "They're around here somewhere," she muttered, and then began tearing into the boxes. "Perhaps I'd better come back," said Bradley's mother. "Oh, found them," said the counsellor, holding up the forms. She cleared a space on the round table by pushing away a box and gave Mrs. Chalkers a form to sign. Bradley's mother looked around the messy office, then at the young woman with the rock and roll t-shirt. She shrugged her shoulders and signed her name. There's a lot of shrugging her shoulders, doesn't she, Bradley's mum? Miss Davis took the form from her. "Oh, you're Bradley Chalkers' mother." Mrs. Chalkers nodded. "You would not believe all the horror stories I've heard about Bradley Chalkers," said the new counsellor. "I've been here less than 3 hours, but it seems like every teacher in the school has dropped by to warn me about him." "Deep down, he really is," Bradley's mother started to say. "I can't wait to meet him," the counsellor interrupted. "He sounds charming, just delightful." Okay. So that was chapter 4, and then chapter 5 is literally just these 2 pages. So make sure you're thinking about that summary so far. It's not really been a lot about Bradley in person here, or about the new boy, which I've forgotten his name again, called Jeff. It's been more about his behaviour in this one, but remember your 50 words can be from the beginning of the book up to the end of chapter 5. Chapter 5. At dinner, Bradley's father asked how the meeting with Bradley's teacher went. Bradley looked down at his mashed potatoes. "Fine," said his mother. "Bradley's doing very well." "Good, glad to hear it," said his father. Bradley was glad to hear it too. Later that evening, his mother came into his room. "I met Miss Davis, the new school counsellor," she said. "You're going to begin seeing her tomorrow." "No," said Bradley. "I won't go." "Please, Bradley, don't be that way. She can help you if you'll let her." "I don't need any help. You said I was doing very well. Did you want me to tell your father the truth? Do you want to be sent to military school? Maybe he's right, I don't know. Maybe that is what you need. You said I was doing very well. I heard you." "Please, Bradley," said his mother. "Give Miss Davis a chance. Please." "You should have taken me to the zoo." It was drizzling the next morning as Bradley walked to school. He wore red rubber boots and a yellow raincoat. He stamped in every puddle along the way, making big splashes. He suddenly stopped when he saw Jeff standing next to the school under the overhang. Bradley's right foot remained in the centre of the puddle as he stared to his one and only friend. He took a deep breath, then slowly walked towards Jeff. "He has to like me," he tried to convince himself. "I gave him $1. "Hi, Bradley," Jeff greeted him. He didn't answer. "If you want, I can help you with your homework sometimes," Jeff offered. "I know I'm new here, but I'm pretty smart, and we learnt the same stuff at my old school." He shrugged modestly. Bradley looked at Jeff as if he were from outer space. "I don't need any help," he said. "I'm the smartest kid in the class. Ask anyone." They headed for Mrs. Ebble's room, side by side, but not necessarily together. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 5. So a little bit about Bradley and Jeff in that one, but not too much. You can start kind of seeing how their relationship's becoming at the moment, can't you? It's very much one-sided from Jeff Fishkin's point of view, but I wonder if he'll be able to talk Bradley round to doing a little bit of his homework for him. But hey, that is chapter 4 and chapter 5. I hope you have enjoyed. And like always, keep safe, keep active. I don't know what else to say really, apart from that I'll see you tomorrow.